Picture this. I'm standing ankle-deep in stinking black mud where a crystal-clear 47-acre lake existed just 72 hours ago. The metallic clang of my sledgehammer echoes across what looks like an alien landscape, cracked earth stretching to the horizon. Scattered like dying whales across this apocalyptic wasteland are 24 million boats, their pristine white hulls now brown with decades of lake-bottom sludge. The stench hits you in waves. Rotting fish, diesel fuel, and something suspiciously like raw sewage. 300 yards away, Brenda Kelworth, the HOA queen who started this war, is screaming into her phone while hosing down bone-dry swimming pools. Her luxury resort guests are loading suitcases, demanding refunds as bass and bluegill gasp in muddy puddles. 3 months ago, Brenda demolished the bridge my grandfather built in 1952. She called it an eyesore. Well, Brenda, how's your $2 million eyesore looking now? But before I explain how I legally drained an entire lake, imagine someone bulldozed your family legacy while you were burying your father. What would you do? My name is Marcus Henley. 3 months ago, I was just a 47-year-old divorced mechanical engineer trying to rebuild my life. I'd lost my marriage, was fighting for weekend custody, and the only place that didn't feel like a crime scene was my grandfather's cabin on Lake Willow. Ezra Henley bought 40 acres of what locals called Frog Pond back in 1951 for $800. His entire discharge bonus from Korea. Smart money said he was crazy. The lake was barely 12 acres then, more swamp than swimming hole. But Ezra had vision forged in frozen trenches and communist bullets. He hand-built everything with surplus Navy timber and sheer stubbornness. The cabin first, then the dock, and finally his masterpiece, a 70-foot bridge connecting our property to the main hiking trail. Each beam hand-selected, fitted with the precision of a man who'd learned sloppy work gets people killed. No permits needed in 1952. The county office was one guy named Earl working out his kitchen. The bridge became legend. Kids jumped off it every summer. 3 generations of marriage proposals happened on those weathered planks. By 2019, the Historical Society was pushing for state registry protection. The cabin still smelled like cedar shavings and Maxwell House, exactly like childhood visits when Grandpa taught me to tie fishing knots by lamplight. Every weekend, I'd escape my echoing apartment for 2 hours of mountain roads and blessed silence. Then Hurricane Brenda made landfall. She blew into our quiet backwater 5 years ago like something escaped from a Phoenix country club. Designer everything from her bleached teeth to her imported Range Rover. She claimed real estate money, though nobody saw proof beyond her American Express black card. Within 6 months, she devoured the old Henderson Ranch across the lake and announced Willow Shores Estate's luxury homes starting at $800,000 in a county where teachers made $35,000. The HOA formed faster than mold in a wet basement. Brenda crowned herself president before the first foundation was poured. Her jewel was Lake Vista Resort and Marina. $2 million of glass, steel, and enough Italian marble to repave Rome. Brenda's hobby was weaponizing municipal codes against anyone whose existence offended her aesthetic sensibilities. The Kowalski family's chicken coop, agricultural nuisance in residential zone. Old Pete's fishing shack, unpermitted structure posing safety hazard. Each violation came with fines that somehow funded more HOA improvements. My grandfather's bridge blocked premium sightlines from her resort cabins. Can't have paying guests seeing actual history when they're dropping $300 a night for a rustic lake experience. The ambush came October 15th while I was burying my father 300 miles away. Cancer ate him alive in 6 weeks. Diagnosis to funeral like a cruel magic trick. I've been sleeping in hospital chairs, then drowning in paperwork, completely hollowed out by grief. Sunday evening, I drove back desperate for the lake's silence. Instead, yellow tape fluttered where 70 years of family pride used to stand. The air reeked of diesel exhaust and betrayal, with chips scattered like bone fragments across ground that crunched underfoot like broken dreams. Stapled to my door, unpermitted structure removed per Municipal Code 847B. Cleanup fees $2,847. Have a blessed day. Wu Lao Shao. Security footage revealed the truth. 7 a.m. Sharp, Brenda directing the excavator like some suburban Mussolini, pointing exactly where to cut. She'd worn her red heels, the ones reserved for town council meetings and property assassinations. Tuesday night, I crashed their HOA meeting. 23 people suffocating in a room built for 15, air thick with hairspray and righteous indignation. Mr. Henley, Brenda said without looking up from her leather portfolio, your rustic aesthetic simply doesn't align with community standards. That bridge was an eyesore, devaluing neighboring investments. I reminded her it was built by a Korean War veteran without permits. She smiled cold as lake ice in January. Frankly, it blocked our guests' view of the natural landscape. Vote 7-2. I owed cleanup fees. Driving home, my headlights caught fresh survey stakes along my shoreline, all marked with Brenda's company logo. Those stakes haunted my sleep for 3 days. Then Brenda unleashed her legal pit bull. Wednesday's certified letter made my morning coffee taste like liquid hate. Cease and desist from Kelworth and Associates Legal. Brenda's son-in-law Dale, fresh from some diploma mill, desperate to justify his existence. Accusations read like bad fanfiction. Criminal trespassing, harassment of board members, verbal assault, and intimidation for daring to speak at a public meeting. But paragraph 4 was the gut punch. My boat launch violated setback requirements and would be demolished within 30 days. My boat launch, the concrete ramp Grandpa Ezra poured in 1953 before Dale, was even a disappointed gleam in his father's eye. Thursday brought a lien notice that made my hands shake. $2,800 in unpaid HOA fines against property I'd owned longer than Brenda had lived in this state. That afternoon, I drove to Ruby Martinez's law office, a converted Victorian that creaked like old bones. Ruby was the kind of small-town lawyer who answered her own phone and didn't charge for thinking. She spread Grandpa's deed across her desk. Most people don't realize what they own, she said, tracing property lines. In 1951, Lake Willow was 12 acres of muddy fishing hole. 2 years later, federal flood control money transformed it into 47 acres of tourist paradise. The county built a concrete dam on Ezra's land, installed spillways, created what brochures now called pristine mountain recreation. Here's what made my engineer brain light up. Ezra granted an easement for the dam, but retained ownership rights. Ruby pulled out a law book and explained riparian doctrine. Lakefront property owners get special privileges that can override almost everything newer. Your grandfather was smarter than anyone realized, she said. He didn't just buy land, he bought control. I was still processing when Brenda escalated from legal threats to vandalism. Friday morning, I discovered my boat dock sabotaged, support posts sawed through with surgical precision. My aluminum fishing boat sat tilted like a drunk sailor, taking on water through stress cracks. Security camera footage showed the lens spray-painted black around midnight. Brenda's alibi. Wine and cheese fundraiser until 11:30. Perfect timing, perfect cover. But even small-town criminals make mistakes. Saturday afternoon, Jake Morrison, 22, drowning in community college debt, knocked on my door looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. He worked marina maintenance for Brenda to support his pregnant girlfriend, but still had a functioning conscience. I didn't touch your dock, he whispered, but I saw Dale's truck by your place around 2 a.m. Friday. Heard power tools running. He showed a text. Discreet dock repair needed ASAP. $500 bonus for weekend completion. No questions asked. Classic Brenda. Create the problem, then profit from the solution. While I documented saw marks, Ruby dove deeper into state archives. What she found was pure gold. The 1954 environmental study for federal dam funding included emergency drainage rights for the property owner. If Ezra's heir, me, determined the dam needed inspection or maintenance, I could legally drain the lake. The county engineer had to sign off, but couldn't override legitimate safety concerns. Marcus, Ruby said over coffee that tasted like victory, your grandfather built himself a nuclear option. The beautiful irony. Brenda destroyed my bridge to improve her resort's view, never realizing that view depended on water I controlled. Sunday evening, I stood on my damaged dock watching Brenda's sunset cruise return. 12 guests sipping champagne, laughter echoing across water that existed at my discretion. Jake's phone buzzed. Monday's assignment. Prepare guest boats for fishing excursions. Weather looks perfect. I smiled, remembering old water law cases Ruby studied. Original riparian rights usually beat everything that comes after. HOA covenants, municipal codes, even federal regulations, if ownership predates them. Monday morning, crisp October air promising fresh starts. Optimism lasted until I checked my dock. Someone finished the job overnight. My boat submerged, only bow tip visible like a metallic tombstone. Dock posts cut through jagged wooden teeth from the lake bottom. Fresh tire tracks led from the access road. Wide, expensive treads matching Dale's oversized pickup. Cigarette but scattered. Marlboro Reds, Dale's brand from HOA meetings. Jake appeared through morning mist. Last night around 3 a.m., I saw Dale's truck leaving. This morning, Miss Kelworth offered $500 bonus for discreet marina maintenance. Text from Brenda. Dock repairs completed successfully. Excellent work. Bonus deposited. Digital confession. That afternoon, while Ruby filed police reports, I investigated Lake Willow's history in the courthouse basement. Old paper and forgotten secrets. The 1954 files changed everything. Dam construction used Army Corps of Engineers flood control funds, requiring permanent public access and emergency drainage for structural integrity issues. County engineer couldn't override legitimate safety concerns. Tuesday, Brenda showed up at my door in pearls and press slacks, smile freezing hell. Behind her, 2 resort guests, all teeth and entitlement. Marcus, we need to discuss your recent behavior. My guests feel unsafe. She produced an envelope, $400,000 cash for my property, 40% above market. Cashier's check, legitimate bank. Smell of fresh ink and desperation. That's generous, Brenda, but this property isn't for sale. Her mask slipped. You're fighting a war you can't win. I have resources, connections, legal firepower. You have a broken down cabin and hurt feelings. I thought of federal documents on my kitchen table. I have time. Ruby's excitement over the phone. Federal compliance requirements meant if Brenda's resort violated access provisions, she owed repayment of 1954 funding with 70 years interest, about $2. $3 million. That evening, watching Brenda's wine cruise, the lake felt like something I controlled absolutely. Wednesday morning, Pat Kowalski, the county engineer, arrived with clipboard. He'd inspected dams since Carter was president. We walked the dam length. Concrete looked solid, but 70 years of pressure and freeze-thaw cycles left hairline cracks. Siltation from boat traffic stirred sediment faster than natural processing. Soil samples, heavy metals, chemical residue, petroleum byproducts, hazardous waste sections. Federal guidelines recommend periodic drainage for artificial lakes, Pat said. Removes pollutants, allows natural cycling. Should have been done 15 years ago. Thursday, flyers appeared everywhere. My divorce photo with selective court quotes, painting me as unhinged stalker. Dangerous local threatens lake community. Humiliation burned like copper pennies. But Brenda made a mistake. Those records were sealed. Deputy Williams. Unauthorized publication of sealed documents is felony harassment. Friday, Pat's notarized report. Dam sound but requires immediate remediation. Recommend temporary drainage within 60 days. Marina built without wetland impact studies. Federal permit violations. Successor liability. Brenda inherited obligations. Owed $850,000 plus in repayment/penalties. Saturday morning, Ruby called. State Archives documents confirmed 1954 project strings. Commercial development must maintain access or repay funding with compound interest. Marina paperwork missing. Criminal negligence. Emergency Drainage Authority. If dam owner determines contamination threatens ecosystem, immediate drainage authorized. Brenda's empire on borrowed money, $1. 8 million loans. 60-day disruption triggers bankruptcy. Federal seizure possible for willful violations. Monday felt like D-Day minus 72 hours. Ruby's office a war room. Pat's contamination worse. Heavy metals, petroleum, chemical runoff. 3-stage drainage. Warning valve drops level 6 inches per hour. Gradual release 12 hours. Full evacuation 18 to 24 hours total. Jake reported sold-out weekend. Fishing tournament, corporate retreat, wedding, $30,000 revenue expected. Tuesday, Dr. Sarah Olivia from State Wildlife arrived with holding tanks, volunteers. Resort boat, traffic accelerated pollution beyond recovery. Temporary drainage, exactly what ecosystem needs. Wednesday evening, I tested dam mechanisms. WD, 40 and 70 years maintenance kept everything operational. Thursday night, Grandpa's final log entry. The lake remembers its natural state. Someday someone will help it find that memory again. Friday morning, 3 black SUVs, Brenda, Dale, tactical gear contractors. Prevent terrorist activity against critical infrastructure. Brenda, your threatened sabotage is domestic terrorism. Dale waived fraudulent injunction from retired judge, Jake's uncle. Ruby countered, injunction worthless, judge retired. Brenda bribed officials for years. FBI investigating corruption. Sheriff Deputy Williams, trespassing, leave or arrest. Contractors withdrew. Brenda alone in driveway. Empire crumbling. Saturday, media circus. Fish rescue visuals perfect for cameras. Reporters grilled Brenda on illegal dumping. Federal investigators arrived. Brenda screamed, environmental terrorism. But evidence painted different picture. Sunday night, Brenda's final gambit. Drove to Denver, offered my ex-wife $50,000 to testify. I'm unfit father, confessing bribery on recording. Monday, 5 a.m., dam controls. Ruby with EPA/Army Corps approvals. Pat, Dr. Olivia, fish teams. Media trucks lined road. 7 a.m., Brenda in pajamas and fur coat, screaming threats. Agent Hayes, Brenda Kelworth, you're under arrest for conspiracy to bribe witnesses, obstruction, water protection violations. 8 a.m., hand on manual crank, 70 years ready. This isn't revenge, it's restoration. Sometimes empty something completely to make it clean again. Warning valve clanked. Lake dropped 6 inches per hour. By 10 a.m., 3 feet down, boat batteries, oil drums, chemical containers emerged. EPA swarmed like crime scene investigators. Noon, million-dollar boats tilted in mud like beached whales. Guests stared at wasteland. Wedding party arrived. Bride screamed at Dale about ruined dreams. 3 p.m., Dale arrested hiding in wine cellar with falsified permits. 4 p.m., illegal sewage pipe discovered. Contamination exceeded standards by factors. Worst environmental crime in 20 years, Agent Hayes said. 6 p.m., complete drainage. Lake bed exposed. Native American arrowheads, colonial tools, original creek bed preserved. Sunset over empty basin, surreal amphitheater, Brenda's resort, ridiculous monument to greed. 30 days later, rebuilt bridge, Thanksgiving ceremony, 300 people, home-cooked food. Plaque, Ezra Henley Memorial Crossing, Korean War veteran, conservationist, protector of Lake Willow. Custody resolved, Sarah's recording federal evidence. Kid spends summers fishing clean water. Environmental tourism replaced luxury, sustainable, profitable. Ezra Henley Conservation Scholarship started. Jake apprentices under Pat. Annual Bridge Festival draws thousands. Community over commercialization. Lake Willow model for restoration nationwide. Fish populations tripled, protected watershed status. Standing on rebuilt bridge at sunset, clean water lapping natural shoreline. Chris Pine, scent replacing diesel tang. I hear Grandpa's approving chuckle. Some battles worth fighting for principles outlasting lives. Clean water, community respect, promises to future generations. If you've survived an HOA nightmare, share your story. Truth and persistence can still defeat corrupt systems. Thanks for listening.